Hello, I'm going to share with you some of the exciting and surprising innovations of the Kepler and Sirius software. These are things that you may not have noticed even if you own the software. Maybe you didn't think about exactly how these features could be useful. So this is a fun video to show you some of the things that we're doing to really innovate and move into new domains, you might say, into whole new areas. We have lots of tutorial videos as well on basic features and how you use different things. Here I wanted to show you some of the fun ideas of moving into the future, you might say, and also things that you just may not be completely aware of. Okay, so what I have here are 16 things that I think are interesting and innovative or unusual or that might have been overlooked or not very well known about. And I have a link here to the another tutorial video that provides the information. So there's a tutorial video that's about an hour long, and in this video I'm giving you links into that video so you don't have to watch the entire hour. You can just jump right into the sections that you're interested in. So let's go through these 16 items. The first one is, well, what is the Kepler and Sirius software? What am I talking about? What are the prices, etc.? What is this all about? So that's the first 2 minutes. You can click here on this link, and if you're unfamiliar about what I'm talking about, what these programs are. Okay, and then point number 2, daylight saving time tables. So this is a surprising thing. A lot of astrologers do not realize that there are, to this day, and there will continue to be well into the future, problems with daylight saving time. We don't know, we meaning nobody on planet Earth, knows for sure when daylight time begins and ends in certain places, and the research that we do on this. So that's a surprising thing for many people. So here's the link to about 3 minutes discussion of that, and in this 3-minute discussion we also provide links to the full tutorials so you can study this and learn about it in detail. The AstroSignature forecast is the next thing I talk about at 5 minutes into that video, and I talk about that for, it looks like, about 9 minutes. This is an interesting way to see what's happening in the future. Most of us who are students or professionals in astrology, we do things like we have what we call text listings of when transit to natal or progress to natal or progress to progress aspects occur. We have what we call timeline format, a more visual way. We have graphic ephemeris. We have interactive bi-wheels, tri-wheels, and quad wheels. Well, the AstroSignature forecast does some things that none of those do. I think it's very exciting, very innovative. I use it all the time. So different astrologers use different tools. So this is a new kind of forecasting method, a new way to look at information. And a good number of astrologers now are using this. They find that this is more useful for in most cases than some of the other methods. So an innovation, something to be aware of. With any innovation, it may or may not be the thing for you. You may or may not get very excited about it, but just to share some of the doors that we're opening to new ways of doing things. So new ways of looking at forecasting information. Next surprising thing for many people, just not aware of, is that if you purchase the Kepler program or the Sirius program, and you purchase at least one interpretive report option, we create an online automated chart service for you. If you have a website, you can put this online chart service right into your website, and you get paid for it. So we take care of the processing of it, we take care of charging the card, we do everything for you. And as with anything, there are limitations as to how it works. But this is incredible that we provide this for you. You can tremendously enhance your website with this service. So I introduced that, and then again, there's links in this 5-minute discussion from 14 minutes to 19 or 20 minutes. This little talk that I give about this, I also provide a link to a more detailed separate tutorial video that discusses it in more detail. The live mini reading. Now this is another thing that gets overlooked. This is an interpretation of a birth chart where it's spoken to you. Rather than reading it, you hear it and you see images that relate to the interpretation. this is fantastic for parties. I mention in the little discussion that I give here about it that if somebody comes up to you and you're at home with your computer or you're traveling around with your laptop and they say, oh, you're into astrology, you can just play the live mini reading for them. One thing that I do is I have my tablet with me almost everywhere I go. They can play that. If I have headphones, I can plug them in. They can listen to it without disturbing anybody else. And it's very engaging. It's based on very sophisticated astrological analysis. A new idea. Why do we just read the interpretation? Why don't we hear it and see images to go with it? This is very exciting. Things that get overlooked that are possibilities. Again, any of these innovations may or may not be exciting to you, but probably at least one of these will be. New ways of presenting information, new ways of doing astrology, and a new way of thinking about what software can be, that software can be more than just clicking a button and getting data. You can get visualizations. That's the whole idea of the AstroSignature forecast. You can get more like a movie experience with the live mini reading. Okay, other innovations. Point number 6 in this list, evidence-based astrology. This is, and that actually ties up with number 7. Number 6 and number 7 are actually one continuous topic here. So from about 25 minutes to 28 minutes in this video, I talk about how in astrology we'll say something like, oh, you have Venus in the 5th house and Libra, no wonder you're artistic. Wouldn't it be fun to go through a database of over 85,000 charts, over 20,000 charts with AA accuracy, birth time, from a recorded source like a birth certificate or birth record, and see what famous people, also you can include people in your own database, have Venus in the 5th house in Libra, or Venus in the 5th house ruling some other house, any combination of things that you're likely to think of, and see if they have it in verified. So we're opened an entire new world of verifying ideas, exploring ideas, seeing what's possible, seeing what's consistent. It opens a whole new world. We no longer have to just say, oh, I believe that Mars in the 12th house ruling the 9th house or something, it means this. You can explore. It's just unbelievable. A new world of evidence-based astrology. This includes features like links right from within the program to the online AstroDatabank. So many things to enhance this style of working in astrology. So if that's a style that you're interested in, that's a new pathway that we've opened up. Point number 8. Well, here's something we don't often think about. We think about, does the program give me my data that I want? Does it produce interpretations? And we think of those interpretations as something that a non-astrologer could read, a client could read, or we might want to read it ourselves. But what about interpretations that are more like reference works, like degree meanings? You want to know the Sabian symbol for all the planets in a person's chart, and the Sabian symbols are not the only degree meanings. There are a dozen other ones, and in the Kepler and Sirius programs, you can pull up all those degree meanings by all those different authors and read them and explore them. Same thing with fixed stars. The fixed stars report and the asteroids report. The asteroids report and fixed stars report are only in Sirius. They're options of Kepler. It's unbelievable because you can read about the mythology, the history, the different views on what the fixed star means. So if somebody has Moon conjunct Regulus or some other star that you don't really have any idea of what it's supposed to mean, you can get these reference materials, information, much faster and easier than hunting through the internet or books and so on. So it's another way of thinking. Something that we don't always think about is, what about information, reference materials to help me explore ideas, look up things more quickly than browsing through a book and so on, and have it there for that client, for that chart that you're actually looking at. So that's another innovation, another way of thinking about what software can do to you, that I find that very often we don't think of software astrology software as being an important feature, but that can be really important. Point number 9, problems with comparing software. I often read in social networks, sometimes reviews in magazines or on people's websites or in books, people discussing which software, astrology software, they like the best and so on. Very often I read this stuff and there's just flat out errors in the reviews or exaggerations or misunderstandings. Often it tells you more about the person who's talking than it does about the actual software. So that's something to just be aware of that gets overlooked that oftentimes we're not aware of. And I tell an interesting story here of an extreme case of this and the consequences of it. So something just to be aware of. And sometimes this favors the software that I'm involved in developing. Sometimes it works against it. I'm not pointing this out just because it's always, working against me. Sometimes it works for me. But what we want is something that's going to help you, the user of the software, not some particular manufacturer or teacher of astrology who has a vested interest in trying to push some particular program. Okay, now, point number 10, and this is really important, is these tutorial videos. I'm making this video in early November 2015. Currently we have over 200 tutorial videos, and these tutorial videos are more than just 5 or 10 minute little clips of things that you already know about. If you've watched any of these videos, you know that they're detailed from the very beginning, intermediate, most advanced levels, an information system that's completely free. And if you have the Kepler or Sirius program, in these tutorial videos where we go into detail of exploring different ideas in astrology, it's explained in terms of the Kepler and Sirius software. You can immediately apply it and use it. So those videos are available to anyone, but if you have the software, it makes it easier to apply it and utilize it. So we're creating a whole world of astrological information, not just software, but information services. The software is one part of a larger vision of providing astrologers, students of astrology, researchers, businesses, the tools, resources, information, whatever you need, and it's all synergistic and works together. So we've opened a door to make astrology software much more than software, part of a whole information system. Point number 11, some surprises about ease of use. This also relates back to point number 9 about comparing software. What's going on with ease of use of software is actually quite different from some of the things that I read. With the Kepler and Sirius software, what I mentioned here in this link is that ease of use is no longer a significant issue. We get almost no requests regarding ease of use. It's all about features. So a little discussion about that. Surprising thing, number 12. Surprising thing if you're a Mac user or would like to be a Mac user instead of running a PC. There's a program called Crossover Mac. It is fantastic. This program is unbelievable. You do not have to put Windows on your Mac, and you can still run Windows programs. It sounds like magic, sounds impossible, but it does it. The limitation of Crossover Mac is that it does not work with all software, but it does work with Kepler and Sirius. So if you want to be running Kepler and Sirius on your Mac, Crossover Mac is an unbelievably wonderful solution. Surprise! It's something a lot of people don't know about. Even some computer experts haven't found out about Crossover Mac yet. It's just incredibly wonderful for the Kepler and Sirius programs, less expensive, and without certain problems and issues that I mentioned here in the video with the alternatives to Crossover Mac. Okay. Surprise number 13, a lot of people just aren't aware of this, is that we're continuously improving the software, and sometimes we make improvements right in the program without even calling it a new version. And I give an example of that in this short discussion here for about 2 to 3 minutes of where we just continually work with you, the users of the software, to improve it, and sometimes we sneak in, you might say, little new features to improve the software when we can. Point number 14, customer support. Well, things like customer support can be very subjective. What's good customer support? What isn't customer support? Overall, our customers love us. I mean, we just really bend over backwards trying to make sure everything's working properly for you. And one of the things I mentioned here is just thank you to you, all of you that are so supportive and grateful for the support that we give. Number 15, well, I do a quick summary of some innovations here. I mentioned a few. I think most or all of the ones I mentioned, plus a few others. And then the last thing is businesses for the greater good. Cosmic Pattern Software and also Matrix Software, which are two companies that have merged together. They're two parts of one larger system, are dedicated to this concept of businesses for the greater good, where there are not owners who are packing away tons of money. I live in the United States, and we have an increasing problem of a separation of the rich and the poor. It's great that some people are becoming enormously wealthy, but the middle class, lower middle class, in some ways is not any better off, maybe worse than it was decades ago. So anyway, just a little note about that. And we're not the only company in astrology that's really dedicated, not just in word, but really walks the walk in terms of focusing on the greater good and not just the good and benefit to one or two people. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. Sort of a nice, positive blessing, you might say, at the end of this whole thing about what this is all about, what's going on, and I'm not trying to be holier than thou, and clearly there are, I know of other enterprises in the astrology field of people sacrificing, working hard, doing their best to make a better world with what they're doing. Okay, my friends, so just to summarize, some fun information, some new ideas, some things to explore about what you could do with the software or what's going on with the software that you might have overlooked. So I hope that's interesting, and hopefully maybe give you one or two ideas of things you might be able to do that you hadn't thought about as much in the past. Okay, thank you very much for listening, my friends. God bless. Namaste.